Hey everyone! Another week in Galaxy of Heroes, and not a lot of new content in this game. Galactic Legends. We're seeing that there's not a lot of YouTube videos about any content going on in the game. Galactic Legends. And overall, it's been a fairly boring week. Galactic Legends. So we're going to jump into whatever we can to talk about the current news in Galaxy of Heroes. Hey everyone, Finity with Reality Skewed Gamers here with another episode of Good and Bad. Now, how does this show work? Well, I go through all of the news from this past week and give it either a thumbs up or a thumbs down based on what I thought of the news. And so this was a very busy week in Galaxy of Heroes because of the release of Galactic Legends. Now, this is in stark contrast to what happened last week, where we got a little bit of news in there, but nothing really substantive in the game. The characters have been released. People are going after them. We are seeing the Galactic Legends in the game, although not the full impact. So we'll talk about that a little bit here. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and jump into the news. So the first thing is, let's just talk about the kits. We see the kits now. We see the abilities. Now we also see the stats. We are now seeing over 390 speed on Rey and Kylo at Gear 13. These are by far the fastest characters. They're even faster than most of people's modded characters with no mods. With mods, they are going to approach 600 speed. That's right, they are going to approach 600 speed. These are game-changing stats, game-changing characters, and I'm a little torn on this overall, but I have to give this a thumbs up. Now, the reason I'm giving this a thumbs up is because this is a character that revolves around needing a huge amount of investment. And who does this primarily benefit? These will primarily benefit those that are investing a lot, so the whales and the krakens. Up until this point, this game has not really differentiated the whales and the krakens from the free-to-play. Free-to-play were able to keep up. These characters are going to start breaking those apart and segregating the community into two groups. Now, the reason I give it a thumbs up is because this is the first time, really, since maybe the very early stages of the game, where a character had so much impact that it actually provided the whales and the krakens a huge benefit. So the fact that they actually get a benefit is a big deal, and I like that. These are people that are investing a lot in this game, is providing the free-to-play players the money investment into the game to keep the game going so they can continue to enjoy it the way they want to play, and I'm glad that they're finally kind of getting something in their direction. So the whales and the krakens definitely getting a thumbs up for this, because this whaley character for sure is definitely one that benefits them. Now, there is an inherent problem in here, which is that it does segregate the community and really does a disservice to those that are really competitive free to play. It is going to be hard to keep up with that for a long period of time. Now, these are the first Galactic Legends. Some people may have stored up enough crystals to kind of compensate for it. Long term, this model is going to start to push out the competitive free-to-play. Not a big fan of that, but I understand what their business model is, and so overall, this is getting a thumbs up. Now, from the rest of the perspective, let's talk about the events. Now, we've seen some of the events. We haven't seen a lot into the tier 4, 5, and 6 yet, but we have seen a lot in the tiers 1 through 3. These are getting a definite thumbs down. Now, in particular, Tier 3 is one of the most ridiculous tiers I have ever seen. It is literally rock, paper, scissors between two characters. Not only is it rock, paper, scissors, your opponent has a chance to misplay. You've done it 1, 2, or 3 options. You either do your paper, your rock, or your scissors, or they're equivalent with your abilities, and somehow the opponent manages to misplay. I don't quite understand how this is working, how this is the time that they were trying to boost this whole new duel concept, which is one of the most ridiculous, asinine things ever. I don't want to see the duel mode anywhere in this game ever. There is no enjoyment in it whatsoever. It is just frustrating. It worries people that are working on the Galactic Legends that they're going to do rock, paper, scissors wrong and lose these hard-earned tokens that require a lot of energies. But it takes so much time to get these It is difficult for me to understand how this is ultimately what they came up as the big thing for this event. Very disappointing. It's getting a thumbs down. But along with this title update came a change that I'm giving a thumbs up and a thumbs down, and it is the mod changes. Now, if you guys haven't seen it, they did a quality of life update where they went into the mods, and now when you level up a mod, you can actually sell it. If you level up a mod and it is not one that you like, you are able to sell it, and so that part is getting a thumbs up. Why is it getting a thumbs down then? Because they didn't really do the full task. It's like most of the things CG does, where they hear the community, but they kind of do partially because that's what they think the community wants. If you go into the slicing and you slice a mod and it is awful, you cannot sell from that screen. You are forced to go back to the sell screen if you fail a slice and then have to find the mod again. They did not address this here. I really hope they do that soon, but until then, this is basically an incomplete, and so I'm giving them a thumbs up for it and a thumbs down, which kind of washes the whole thing. I like that they introduced something, but it's still missing something big. We also have the release of Poe, and the release of Poe is getting a thumbs down. Now, it's getting a thumbs down for a few reasons. Now, what are those reasons? This reason in particular is that they said there would be no more panic farming, and they're releasing a character into free-to-play on the same day as the Galactic Ascension events. This is basically the definition of panic farming. Now, maybe it is, to CG's credit, to some point, a difference in definition. They could easily say that the panic farm is now alleviated based on the fact that these characters, the Galactic Legend Rey and the Galactic Legend Kylo, are available through the Journey Guide and permanently available. But players are thinking about it differently. For players, the panic farm is based on the fact that these characters are going to show up in their arena and disrupt their arena potentially if they don't have it themselves. And so the panic comes because they need to get these characters into their squad arena. They are going to miss out on crystals if they don't. That is the reason for the panic farm. This does not address that. This makes it worse in the fact that the Poe character was released into free-to-play on the same day. So because they don't seem to understand the definition of a panic farm, and I'm not even getting into the gear aspect of this. I understand that the gear is basically the panic farm for these characters. But because of how out of touch CG is with the community, both on this, although this is the reason why I'm giving it a thumbs down, but also going back to the mods thing, I really wish CG would incorporate more player feedback in person. Ask them, rather than just reading forum posts and assuming that you know, ask them in person, create a focus group. You have players willing to work for free to try and make this game better. They are not taking advantage of it. They're not releasing things that make sense for the players in full. And so because of that, this is getting a thumbs down. So overall, when I look back on this week, I have a lot of different thoughts. I like these new kits. I think they do a great service to the whales and krakens, but I am also pretty disappointed in the fact that this is really going to start segregating the community. It's not going to be the whole community as we've seen. We are going to see a drop-off of players, especially in the free-to-play to low-spender competitive, that now realize that their money is not useful if they're the low spenders, or even the free-to-play that say, if we're competitive, we can keep up still and get that boost. Those are all going to start fading. We're going to see a drop in players. I don't like the schism happening in the player base. Not to mention all the other incomplete mod changes and the fact that they released Poe late. Overall, I have to give this week a thumbs down.
Dr. Thin, medicine woman, I've got a bad case of the SWGOH blues.
While I like the Galactic Legends, I think their kits are really good. I know that they're OP. The problem is a lot of this is enacted in a very poor way. They are definitely segregating the community. I don't blame them. But for a person that is staying in the game largely because of the community, to see so many players getting frustrated and deciding whether or not content is even worth going after, so they're wondering whether or not they should even play something, it's pretty frustrating for me. So I am kind of disappointed in how this was released, how overpowered they are. It wasn't just their abilities, but their stats and almost reaching 600 speed, which means that they're going to be able to lap, maybe even lap twice other characters before they're able to go once. Overall, this is getting a thumbs down this week. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Do you think this is a good week? Do you think this was a bad week? Do you disagree with me on any of my thoughts on whether things were good or bad? I know, of course, with the whole whale thing, with the kits, it's going to be a CG-finity thing, and I don't mind. You know that I am always going to be that CG needs to make their money to keep the game going. I am going to support them for that, but I don't think they should do it at the expense of the community. So, with that, I am Infinity with Reality Skewed Gamers. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. Please make sure that you check out some of the content over here. If you guys liked our content, check out some of the other videos. Make sure you subscribe using the link down below. And otherwise, I will see you next week for another episode of Good and Bad. Take care, everyone.